Okay, now that you are familiar with this technique, we're going to apply it to an object which is a bit more complicated, and it is this cannon. This is a copy of the cannon here, just to let you see it from a different angle. Now the cannon is made up of two textures of 1024 by 1024. We have one for the metal, which is blue, which would be the cannon, the metallic rims on the wheels, the nuts and bolts and things, and the wood, which goes on the main body of the cannon. Now these textures were made up exactly the same way as we made our previous textures, and we've also added an ambient occlusion pass on top. How we do this is we go to our render setup, we change our renderer to mental ray, and with our object selected we press 0 and it'll display the object name. Make sure that you have your projection mapping unchecked and that you're going to be using the mapping coordinates that are assigned. I've got them on channel 1 there. And what we do is we press add and click on ambient occlusion pass. Now it's already set up for 256 by 256, so we want it the same size as our texture, so we click on there to make it 1024. Change the name of the file name there and render out. When it does render, I'll just quickly show you. Don't worry about that. It's just looking for a map slot in a shader. So press continue. You see that when it renders out, it doesn't look like it's rendering an ambient occlusion map. It just looks like it's rendering the object with lighting according to the UV set. So we can cancel that. Don't worry about this happening. This is quite normal. The file that you will get when you open the file up, it will be an ambient occlusion pass. So I'll just get rid of that and get us back to our scanline renderer before we move on. Now, if we move over to the textures in Photoshop, you can see that this one on the left here is the metal and the one on the right is the wood. I'll switch the layers on here. Now this is our ambient occlusion pass here. It's set to multiply, but if I just put it to normal for a second, you'll see what it looks like. And you can see that it just creates an extra bit of shadowing on objects that are close together. So you'll get nice shadowing around where the nuts and bolts are, and it just makes the whole thing look a bit more realistic. So I'll put that back to multiply. So we need to keep our ambient occlusion map on the top there, but I'll just hide it to show you the rest of the layers. Right, this is our original concrete texture, and on top I've multiplied just flat brown colour on top, just to make it the underneath feel as if it is almost like rust, that there's rust deep in the layers of the object. The next layer would be our metal layer, which I would imagine would be iron. And you can see that there's parts of the rust starting to show through a little bit more on one side than on the other. The next layer on top of that is going to be a protective layer on top, which is going to be a sort of shiny layer which would protect the metal from rusting, which has obviously started to peel away and show the metal and the rust underneath. And on top of that, we put a copy of the concrete on a multiply, so that it adds a bit of variety to just having flat colours on top. It just breaks up the colours and makes it look a bit more realistic. So we'll just switch the ambient occlusion map back on for there and show you this one. It's exactly the same. We've got the occlusion map there on the top, and you can see that it's made up from various pieces of wood here, which I've just placed over the top of the ambient occlusion map on the bottom layer. Also, I've added some layers of rust. You can see on the ambient occlusion map where the other objects lie. So these are our little metallic panels with the hooks on them, and this is where the hooks are stuck straight into the wood. And all I've done there is I've taken a sort of rusty, grungy texture and painted it on top, and sort of erased the areas that we don't want to have on there, just to make it look like we've got rust dripping down from the metal onto the wood. And also you can see the shadowing here on the wheels, where the ambient occlusion pass is. And you can also see I think I've switched one of the wood layers off, yeah. You can also see here some of the rust dripping down from this metal panel on the side here. So that's our models and our textures. So in the final video, I'll show you the shaders, how they're made up with the textures, and our final render.